Hello everyone and welcome back to the series of Python Unleashed. My name is Ajay and today's topic is inheritance, which is one of the most important feature of OOPS. In fact, the entire classes and objects revolves around inheritance. So inheritance is something that you should be very good at. Okay, so what exactly do we mean by inheritance? Inheritance means to inherit, means to acquire, right? Now, in real life, if we take an example of real life, we have our parents, so we can have a class like parent, okay, and we have father and mother, and then we have maybe a child one and child two. Okay, now if you talk about the real life, don't a child kind of inherit some of the behaviors and some of the features of their parents? They do, right? So for example, maybe we have one child one, so maybe child one has the features which is more of his father, and child two has features more of his like mother, right? And also you can observe that many a times children have some of the behaviors which is very much similar to their parents. So the way they behave, some kind of, they naturally gain that, isn't it? So if we talk about a real life example, we have this example like a class parent, and then we have child 1 and child 2. Now both these child 1 and child 2 belong to the class child. Okay, so we can say that these two class, that is class child, has been inherited from the class parent, right? So this is the real life example, and if we talk about the same thing into a programming language, so what happens is like there are many types of inheritance, and today in this particular tutorial we are going to talk about the single inheritance. In fact, these are the types of inheritance that we have, that is a single inheritance, a multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, and hierarchical inheritance, and hybrid. Now one by one I'll be taking the tutorials on each of them, but this we are going to at this point we are going to look at the single inheritance. Now if we talk about single inheritance, it is so simple. Suppose we have a class A, and then from class A we derive a class B. So basically class B will inherit everything that class A has. So whatever the object variables class A will have, all the member functions of class A, that will be inherited into class B. Okay, this is very important into software development, because once you go and work on a huge softwares where there is a team working and you are individually working on a module, so we don't actually go for one page, one file of entire coding. There are units, and those units make up a module, and then module basically make up of software, and every units you can say is actually represent a class. So it's very important that whenever you develop a software, you kind of develop it in a way that it can be reused again. So whenever you develop a software and you have classes and objects into it, so once you define a class and the same code, then you can use it for your into some other projects. So that's the importance of inheritance. So we need to develop classes, and from those classes we inherit another classes, and so on. The process goes on. Okay, so whenever you require, like, you can just take up a class which already you have used in a XY project, and the same class, same module, you can use it in other project also. So that is how the entire software development process goes on. So it's very important. Inheritance is very important as far as your career is concerned, or as a student if you want to excel. So single inheritance, as I was talking about, so if you have a class A, and this class A is called as the parent class. Okay, it is also sometimes called as the base class. Most of the time parent and base, these words are used. So this is the base class, and from this base class we have the class B. Now class B, we will call this as a derived class, since this has been derived from class A. So since B has been derived from class A, there are so many all the object variables, and means the attributes and the behaviors will be inherited into class B. Understand it? Okay, so this is called the derived class or the child class. Okay, now what we are going to do is we are going to look at the single inheritance. A single inheritance where there is only two classes, class A and B, and B is inherited from class A. Such a scenario will be called as a single inheritance. As you can see in this figure, the diagram, so there are only two classes, class A and class B. B is been derived from A. That's single inheritance. Okay, we are going to practically implement this now, and we are going to do this. Now there is a class called as student. We have in my previous tutorial we have worked with the class student, and student have the attributes, that is the object variables, that is the registration number, the roll number, name, class, sections, and there are so many other details it can have, but over here I'm just keeping it very short, just 5 of them, that is the registration number, the roll number, the name, the class, and the section. Okay, so these are the attributes that the class student will have. So this student class will basically only will be used for storing the basic details of the student. Okay, only to handle the basic details of the student, and then from this class we are going to have one more class, that is class result. So obviously in a school every student is going to have a result, so every student will have their subjects, right? So over here I've just taken 5 subjects like English, maths, physics, chemistry, and computers. Okay, so this result is we are going to inherit from the class student. Now once I say it has been inherited from class students, so all the details of students will be available in result. So when the student gets the result, obviously he's going to have his registration number, he's going to have his roll number, name, class, section, and then the marks that the student has gained in a particular subjects. So then that particular thing we are going to have in the class result. So right, so you can see that this becomes the base class and this becomes the derived class. Okay, now from the same class student also we can have another class, that is a class fee. Over here I have not shown that, but we can have one more class fee, isn't it? So every student is going to pay fees. So obviously when we gave them a receipt of the fees, so they're going to have the details, that is the registration number of the student, the roll number, the name, the class, the section, all these details are going to be there in the fee, right? So we require that this particular class again into the class fee. So this is how this base class will be used in another, there are n number of classes we can use it, understand it? Okay, so at this particular tutorial we are going to implement this scenario where we are going to have a base class called as student, and from this class we are going to have one more class called as result. So let's start this. Okay, for just to cut short the time, okay, I've just already typed this code, and one by one I will explain you this. Now the very first thing that we had over here is the class student. Okay, and there is something new, that is object. Now this we have not used before, but this is a new style class that is been in the latest versions that we have. In the previous versions of very old versions of Python we didn't have this, but this is a new style class that we have in the latest versions. So this actually means that every class basically is inherited from the predefined class called as object. Okay, predefined class known as object. Now it is not going to make any difference even if I just make this, if I remove this entire thing and make this as colon, it is not going to make any difference. But since this is a new feature of Python, and so we're going to use this. This is a new style class and we're going to use this. Maybe in my upcoming tutorials, maybe that I'm just going to explain there is a small technical difference between using this and the old style class that was just using without this object. Okay, but practically speaking it is not going to make any difference. This is a new style class. Just understand that whenever you use a base class, maybe this is the base class student, so just use this, that is the parenthesis, and this is a predefined class, that is object. Okay, and then everything is similar. These are the object variables. We have registration number, roll number, name, class, and section. Then there are certain member functions, that is student details, where we are going to collect the details of the student, and then we are simply displaying that using the display student function. So these two are the member functions and these are the object variables. Okay, now after this class gets over, it is still here. Okay, and now you can see there is another class over here, and you can see class name of the class is result, and it is inherited from the class student. Now where is student? This is over here, right? So result is inherited from class student, and this is the syntax how you're going to use it. Name of the class, use the class keyword, name of the class, then the parenthesis, and the name of the base class. So over here I've given student, that is this base class. So once I say this is the base class, okay, once I derive this from student, what happens is all these object variables and the member functions becomes the part of this class result. Understand it? Okay, again I repeat, all the object variables and the member functions will become the part of the class student. So I can easily access with the object result. Okay, I will just show you this. Okay, then it has its own constructor where there are name of the subjects, that is English, maths, physics, chemistry and computers, and initial value I'm keeping it as 0. So this is the constructor for result, and this is the constructor for class student. And with this particular line of code, we are saying that basically result is being inherited from the class student. Okay, name should be exactly the same, since S is capital over here, so over here also it requires to be capital since Python is case sensitive. Okay, then this is the constructor for result, and then there are two member functions for the class result, that is enter marks and display marks. Now enter marks where I'm accepting the marks for all the subjects, and then display marks is where I'm displaying the marks. Okay, we can have one more member function for calculating the average of the student, how much percentage that student has scored. Okay, that also we can do it out here. Then now, since I told you that all these object variables and the member functions, they are inherited in this class student. So how to prove that? For example, I'll just delete this, and now you can see this outside this class, both the class, this is the main program, this is where everything starts. The first line of code, I'll write here main. Okay, so what I've done over here, I've created an object A with the class student, isn't it? So if you say if A dot, right, and that is the access operator, and you can see that chemistry, computers, display marks, and you can see out here that is name, then roll number, registration number, all this is available to us. Why it is available? Because this class result has been derived from the class student. So all the object variables and the member functions will be accessible to you. So I can use this A dot, and then I can access all the member functions of the class student, and also all the object variables. You can see the registration number, roll number, section, all things are available to me. So this is the importance of inheritance. So I have a class that is a class student, and all the it is used as a base for other objects basically. Okay. Then now what we're going to do is, we have A is equal to result, and then I will simply say A dot, okay, A dot, if I just say A dot, that is maybe student details. Okay, let me have the student details. I will just display the student details, and then I will simply display the display marks, and let us see what happens over here. Display marks. Okay, now let us just run this code and we will see what happens. Okay, it is giving us an error, and the error says that the result object of result has no attribute registration number. Now why this error? We have this error because, as I said, that the class student is being inherited, the class result is being inherited from the class student. So everything is accessible in the class result. So if I have an object A of the class result, with that A object I can access everything that it's there in the class student, but still it is saying that result object has no attribute registration number. Now this error, why we got it? Because this we need to take care of the constructor. Now since we created an object A of class student, what it is going to do, Python is going to evoke this particular constructor automatically, isn't it? So the constructor is going to get evoked automatically for the class student and not for the class result. So this is the reason why it is giving us the error. Now what we need to do in inheritance is, whenever this class, the constructor gets evoked, it is up to the user to make sure that we give a call to the constructor of the base class. Okay, again I repeat, it is up to the programmer to make sure that you evoke the constructor, the init function of the base class. So how to do that? Now there are two ways. First is simple way, name of the that is the base class, that is student, then use the dot, and then I say double underscore, and then init double underscore, and just use the self. That's it. Okay, so once this particular constructor automatically gets evoked, since I am creating a object A, so this particular constructor will get evoked, and over here the first thing that I'm doing is I am explicitly giving a call to the constructor of the base class. And how I'm doing that? With the name of the class, that is student, dot double underscore init double underscore, and just a reference, that is the self reference. Okay, so this will make this particular constructor will get evoked by using this particular statement. Okay, and then what will happen, the initial values will get initialized, that is the 0 0, and then these are the null string. Now let us run this, and now you can see we have no error, and you can see the initial value 0 0, this is a null string out here, and then English, maths, all the values are 0. Now that error has gone. Okay, so again I repeat that it is up to the programmer, up to the user to evoke the constructor, the init function of the base class. Okay, now this was the first method that I showed you, using the name of that class student. Now second way we can do this is using the super function. Now this is a predefined function of Python, and you have to simply use it in a way that is super, then the opening and closing parenthesis. Inside this you can say super means basically the super class of the class result. Okay, so I've just specified result and self. So basically it will refer, what's the super class for result? It is student. What's the super class for result? That is student. So it will evoke that particular function. Since I'm passing the reference out here, name of the class, that is result. What's the super class of result? So result comma the self reference, that's the syntax, and then I don't need a self out here, just pass empty. Okay, and then just run this, and you can see we have the same output. Okay, so this we have done with the help of the super function. Okay, now one thing to understand over here, since I'm not passing any values to the constructor, okay, this works fine. So for example, if I'm passing something like a j out here, then what will happen? Okay, so we are not actually collecting that anywhere, so it is going to give us the error. Now this we need to take care of, since this value a j we need to catch somewhere. So I'm just catching that in that is called as name. So obviously when this statement gets executed, this will be passed to its own constructor, that is the constructor of a result. So that is this one. So this will get collected in this, that is the name variable, which is just a normal variable. Okay, and then this name, it's very important that I pass it over here. Why? Because I want that this name should get initialized to this particular name. I don't want this to be as nil. I will just simply pass that from the constructor. Now this might be a bit of confusing for you, but my suggestion is just don't use this at this point. Just use this without any arguments or without any parameters for the constructor. So what I've just taught you before, just go by that. Okay, and if you're able to get that, then easily you can get this. Okay, so I'm just passing, what I'm doing over here is, if I want that the name of the student, I want to pass it from this particular object, that is a of class result. So this will get evoked, this will evoke its own constructor, that is the init function of result, and it will get collected into this, and again this, then I'm passing it to the base class constructor, right? And then this will get passed over here, and then again I need to collect this over here, right? And then this will work. Now since I'm collecting that name, I don't read that, I don't require this particular statement. I don't need to collect from the user. Okay, I just keep this as comment. Okay, let us just one by one, I will make you understand this. Okay, so now what we have learned till now is that if we have a derived class, so it is up to the programmer or up to the user to evoke the constructor of the base class. So we have just done that, and we have learned the two ways by which we can achieve that. One is using the name of the class itself, and second is using the super function, which is a predefined function. The syntax for both of them are quite different. You can just go through it one by one. Okay, if you're not clear, just rewind this video, go back to it, and just come back over here. Okay, so this is what we have done achieved till now. And remember that at this point, do not give the name of the object, sorry, not the object, the member functions, that is over in the base class and in the derived class. Don't keep it as same. Okay, why? That we are going to learn in upcoming tutorial. So I've just kept different names, that is student details, display student, enter marks, and display marks. Okay, now let us just run this. What I will do is, I will say a dot, and first thing that I need to do is accept the details of the student. How I'm going to accept that is, what is the name of that class? That is student details. Okay, so I'll say a dot student details. I'll give a call to this, and then I say a dot, then I will collect the marks. So that is enter marks function. Now you can see that this particular function belongs to the class student, and this particular function belongs to the class result. Okay, but since this is a derived class, so I'm easily able to access all that we have in the derived class. And then I will say a dot, I say display students, and a dot, that is display marks, right? Everything looks fine over here. Now let us run this, and you can see I'm just passing that name of the student as Ajay. So I have just given this line of code as comment, because then we don't need to accept the name of the student, since I'm just passing that while the constructor gets evoked. Now let us run this, and we have the registration number, as you can see, 1 2 3 4 something dummy, that is a name. Now you can see we are not accepting the name. Class is 10, section is A, and now you can see the next function has got called enter marks in English. I get 12, 23, 5, and computers as 89, and here it is. This is the complete output in front of you. That is the registration number is this, roll number is A, and you can see the name is Ajay. You can see out here we have not asked the user to enter the name of the student. We have straight away passed over here while we create an object of class student. So this is how you can do it. Okay, now the best thing to do is, like, I don't need to give a call to this, that is student details. What I'm going to do is, over here, another way and a professional way to do it is that I'm going to give a call, that is the enter marks straight away. Now you can guess that we are just accepting the marks of the students, right? So over here, the first thing that I'm going to do in this particular member function is just give a call self, and then I will say dot student details. I'm going to give a call to the function of the base class over here. Okay, similarly display marks or display students, I don't require it over here. The best way to do is, before displaying the marks, we will evoke the function of the base class, that is display student details, or it was, just a minute, it was display students, right? And that's it. Now if I run this, let us run this and see the output. So this time I'll give some another data. Roll number is 12, class is X, that is 10, A, and the marks are 6. I'll give some better marks this time, and computers I'll give it as 100. Okay, and you can see the output out here. Now what is happening, I just gave a call to enter marks, that is the member function of the class result and the display marks. But what I'm doing is enter marks while I'm accepting, before accepting the marks, inside this function I'm giving a call to the function that is student details. So this will basically jump over here and will collect all the details of the student. And similarly, while displaying the marks, I'm displaying the details of the students first, and then I'm displaying the marks. Okay, so this is the entire concept of inheritance. This is a single inheritance, and as we move further, things will get a bit complicated. As I said, just passing the values, how to pass values, and then we are going to work with other inheritance also. It is very, very interesting. Basically, it's not really complex. If you really focus, it is very interesting and very, very easy, trust me. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you understood this tutorial. If not, just rewind it once again, go through it, and I hope it will be easy for you. Bye for now.